What are a group of some of the most powerful men in the country meeting in the forests of California to do secretly? Solve these problems? Booze? Hatch policy, political careers, and deals in private? Have sex with the male waitstaff? Well, the latter three are actually what the allegations are that have been made in the past about the goings-on at Bohemian Grove. It's the stomping ground of the Bohemian Club, which critics have called Bilderberg West. Now, the club in this retreat has been around for more than 100 years. It's attracted in the past presidents from Taft and Hoover to Reagan and George Bush, father and son, along with actors, business leaders, and sometimes protesters on the outside. Now, this story really doesn't get much play. One big exception is our guest, Alex Jones. He is one of the members of the media who have infiltrated Bohemian Grove himself. In 2000, in fact, he sneaked in and filmed the cremation of care ceremony, as it's called. Take a little look at that.
All the time in the darkness across the small lake, the men in black were doing something behind the dark curtains hanging from the redwood trees.
They're getting rid of their cares. Earlier, I spoke with Alex Jones. I asked him why Bohemian Grove doesn't really get any mainstream media attention these days.
The CEOs and presidents, vice presidents of the big four networks all attend year after year, and you have former presidents, you have current presidents, you have British royalty that go there. Helmut Schmidt, the previous German chancellor, wrote a book, Men in Power is a Political Retrospective, and in the book he said, look, the Trilateral Commission goes there, the Bilderberg Group goes there, the leaders of the world go there for 15 days, and a lot of decisions get made there, and he admitted that they are establishing a private corporate world government, and that one of the most important secret meeting houses is the Bohemian Grove. And Richard Nixon told Harper's Magazine, and after his death, a recording was released of the interview that had not been fully published, where he did say that it is basically a gay meeting, that's the main thread besides politics, is that a lot of the major magnates in corporations and media, but also government, come there, and male prostitutes are shipped in to service them.
Alex, are you suggesting that, I know a lot of reports say that every Republican president since way back in the day have attended. Are you asserting that they're having gay sex?
Well, I know that Vanity Fair has reported on the fact that their reporter got arrested there, and their report talked about the homoerotic trappings. I know that when I was there, I was being whistled at and followed around like it was a Looney Tunes Pepe Le Pew cartoon, and I was the cat, to the point of I had to just hide in the woods until it got dark so I could videotape the ritual.
What do you mean? Tell us about that. What happened to you? What did they do to you? Who was whistling at you?
You would be walking down the forest paths on the 2,700-acre retreat that's in a gorge, and you would have men start walking up to you and saying, what are you doing? What camp are you part of? You want to come party with us? You'd have people whistle at you. And I was even pretty naive then. I mean, I snuck in. Once I got in, I tried to stay away from crowds of people, but they were still coming over. And there have been other reporters. Spy Magazine's reported on it. As I said, Vanity Fair has talked about the fact. I mean, any reporter that actually gets in there is approached. And they didn't come over and say, hey, we want to have sex with you right now. It was just, hey, let's have some fun, and being whistled at. And so that is a large overtone of it. But my main issue is that the Bohemian Grove actually has released some of their annals now through Berkeley and other universities, Sonoma State. And they brag that they hatched the Manhattan Project there for the atomic bomb. They brag that they got government and industry together for that. The Star Wars SDI program in the 80s. So many big events are decided, and so many big deals are made at the Bohemian Grove. And so it is that secret smoky room But instead of a bunch of guys behind closed doors smoking cigars and making decisions with government officials, it is a 15-day retreat with music, alcohol, plays, ritualistic behavior. And the men then also leave the Grove and go to the nearby town and visit with female prostitutes that are flown in from all over the world. So that may be one reason there's such a gay overtone in the whole thing, is that it's only men allowed inside the Grove. Now, because of threats of lawsuits and things, some women are allowed in food preparation.
To work there, right. Right, Alex, let me get in here for a second. I think that some of the stories, too, said that those instances, I think a prostitute was interviewed, this was a while back, saying that that's more of the rarity or the exception. Hoover, though, called it the greatest men's party, and that it was just a lot of fraternal fun. So, Peter Bergen, who you confronted about it, said that everybody was very gentlemanly. So a lot of different reports about what exactly is going on. Your experience certainly is interesting. But as far as concerns over the business and political dealings going on there, because that is one of the bigger concerns, and you mentioned the Manhattan Project, that's one that's been widely cited. Others that I've seen are that Reagan and Nixon kind of had private conversations in which Reagan agreed he wouldn't run for president so that Nixon could, and Nixon said that he gave a speech there that he believes kind of launched his political career. But what about any more recent examples of things that are going on there that concern you as far as the policy or political careers being made behind closed doors and not open to the public?
Well, you talked about the fact that the dominant media of the United States, the old line dinosaur media, really doesn't talk about Bohemian Grove very much. There was an exception in 2000, right after I got back from the Grove. The announcement was then made on CNN later that the decision for Dick Cheney to be George W. Bush's running mate was made at Bohemian Grove, and that was said on CNN. And when I confronted David Gergen at the RNC convention in 2004 in New York, I was very polite, but I brought up the rituals, and he said, listen, if you were inside the Grove, you weren't supposed to talk about that. And I said, no, I snuck in. At which point, the Karl Rove of 5 previous administrations blew up at me and got in my face, something David Gergen has never been seen to do in the 5 administrations that he's worked with and thousands of media interviews. So this is a big deal to them. They wait for decades on a waiting list to get into it, and major decisions are being made there outside of the Democratic processes. So this is one of the main meeting houses for 15 days. I mean, why would
how did they get off work
extremely
for so long?
world powerful people, why would these heavy hitters, the most powerful people in the world, travel and spend weeks together for just a party? It is a partying atmosphere where they try to cement the elite together and basically create a consensus for an agenda. And I've had several of the widows of Bohemian Grove members send me their internal annals that you can actually buy from collectors that are thousands of dollars a piece. I have several of these, and in there, there is a very pro-world government, anti-national sovereignty sentiment running through it. And so that's why it's important, is that so many big decisions are being made, and they bring the media, the top Hollywood people together, the head of banking, the academia, with government, and basically it is a huge networking event where they try to cement this global agenda.
Really quickly, though, I know one of the things is that reporters have traditionally been kept out, but you're saying that now the media has a role there?
Well, by reporters being kept out, uninvited reporters. I am the only reporter to ever get in and get out, and that's because other reporters are greedy. They try to sneak in and hang out and hide in the woods, for days. They try to come up and ask people questions, and then they always get arrested.
But are you saying that people that are in the media are there now and are a part of this gathering now?
Yes. Yes, just like Bilderberg will have the major editors of several large newspapers and TV networks at their events. The same thing's going on at Bohemian Grove, because Bohemian Grove has 1,200 members, more than 1,000 guests that are vetted and then allowed to come in. And so that's why you don't see a lot of reportage on Bohemian Grove in the news, is because the media is in on it. The media is there meeting with the power structure.
Well, then that would imply that even if the media doesn't report on it right away, they're more privy to some of these private speeches that are going on. So then it would be a little bit more transparent, in theory.
But we don't really ever see any examples of the ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox people that we know have gone there. I mean, not just the heads of networks, the heads of the conglomerates that go there and are members. You don't really ever see them talking about what goes on at the, quote, lakeside chats where world leaders basically speak to the crowd and try to sell them on their ideas. Sometimes many years later, the Grove, to brag, will choose to release the text of a lakeside chat that happened a decade before, just to show how they basically charted much of the world's destiny.
That's a good point. Well, not that I'm saying that it charted the world's destiny, but a good point that you made earlier. But I wanted to, you compared it to Bilderberg, and that's a comparison that's been made. It's been called Bilderberg West. How do you compare the two?
Yes, you could compare it to Bilderberg West, but it's bigger. Bilderberg only has about 125 members, maybe 20, 30 guests. Normally it's somebody like Bill Clinton, an obscure governor who 2 years later is president, or Tony Blair, an obscure member of parliament who 2 years after visiting becomes the Prime Minister of England. In 2007, Governor Rick Perry of Texas went, and we said then, look for him to run for president in 2012. I'm on record in my film Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, covering that. And so Bilderberg is all about business and is just the top of the pyramid meeting to adjust any future plans. Bohemian Grove is a place where they bring the Council on Foreign Relations members, where they bring Trilateral Commission members, where they bring other bankers and CEOs who aren't quite in on the game and say, hey, let's drink, let's party, let's have whatever type of prostitute you want, male, female, we got it. Let's do some fun rituals. Let's engage in some bizarre Masonic / Luciferian rituals. And let's just, party. And then they go out and act like conservative men on television. But the truth is, for 15 days a year, they are running around with their hair on fire and their pants down. And again, it's Richard Nixon that said, if you want me to quote it, he said it's the most goddamn, is it all right if I quote Richard Nixon?
Sure.
You can pull it up. Richard Nixon said Bohemian Grove is the most goddamn faggy thing you've ever seen. And again, I don't, say that in a hateful way. That's what Richard Nixon said about it, but he went. And
did you see men running around with their pants down? And their hair on fire?
Okay, do you really want to know what I saw?
Yes.
I saw large posters up with men dressed as women outside of some of the camps, with Henry Kissinger bent over, simulating sticking his fingers in his rectum.
All right. I don't really know where to go from here, except to thank you for coming on. Are you heading up there?
I'm here talking to some folks that have info on what's going on at the Grove, and I'll just leave it at that. And again, you asked. I don't really, normally talk about stuff like that, so I told you. And yes, I did see, men pulling their pants down and urinating up against trees, but I think everybody does that in the woods.
And we've heard
I'm not
that.
saying everybody at the Grove. I'm not saying everybody at the Grove is a devil worshiper. Everybody at the Grove is visiting prostitutes. The point is that this is where the elite go to really go wild and relive their frat days. And they're a lot older and more decadent than when they were in college.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us your personal experience. And we'll have to see if you do head up there or not, since you won't tell me. That was radio host Alex Jones.
Let's look at Northern California. You understand? Yeah. You know what's happened in San Francisco. Just gone. It's clear over. I know that, but it isn't just down in the ratty part of town. But the upper class in San Francisco is that way. The Bohemian Grove that I attend from time to time, the Easterners and the others that come there, but it is the most faggy goddamn thing you will can ever imagine. San Francisco crowd because it's just terrible.